Henry's Place, and Donald.
Hey, the other day, Colleen, when you were looking by the chair and the vice chair, or can any of us sign it?
Anybody can.
Oh, anybody?
Yeah,
I didn't-
Board members. And that was only
Any-
because it was land. Connection is unstable.
Yeah. Reaching out to Henry and Tim. In
My
the
internet
future,
connection
just give me a
always
call, because I'm usually around.
Okay, so we couple years before that happens again.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, I know, been there.
Can you guys hear me? Lou?
Hi, Tim.
Oh, excellent.
That-
Everybody quiet, or am I shut off here?
Yeah, we're just quiet.
Okay. It went real quiet, so I didn't know if I
Yeah.
might have
we
lost
can
it.
Just the connection.
Might be my internet, I don't know. You have an agenda in front of you, Tim?
Yes, I do.
Do we have a quorum now? We have one.
Nancy
Yeah, you
joining
got
us?
one.
I think we do. We only need 4, right?
We have 5.
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. We're good to go.
Yeah, you got 6, you're good. All right, Tim, you can go ahead and open up the meeting.
Okay. It is Wednesday, December 9th, 2020 at 7 p.m. We are going to start the virtual meeting pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law GLC 30A18 and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. This meeting is being televised by the Chelmsford Telemedia and is being conducted remotely. First on the agenda is administrative review. Is there anything we have with that, Colleen?
The first one is a A&R for 190 North Road.
Okay, and that's the Loisel Irrevocable Trust, 190 North Road, seeks an endorsement of an approval not required plan. Okay, is there anyone here for 190 North Road?
Hold on, I have some, you know what, they were Stamsky and McNary, and I didn't think they were coming tonight.
I think it's just a standard A&R.
Yeah,
It looks like they have their frontage and their access, so
Yeah,
I'll give
this
you a
was-
motion if you want.
I'll second it.
We
Okay.
have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys got to slow down. Who motioned? Who seconded?
Glenn motioned, then Mike Raisbeck second,
Second, unanimous.
and it was unanimous. Okay, we good with that?
Yep.
Next on to 22 Hatikava Way. And this is Harish Paramizuwaran, 22 Hatikava Way, seeks an endorsement of approval not required plan. And I'm pulling him that up. It says he here.
I believe he is.
Hello, sir.
Hold on. Harish, if you're out there, unmute.
Yeah, I'm here. Actually, the architect is also here. He's supposed to talk first. Taj laptop. So can you check with him? Mr. Hushi, Taj.
Oh, yeah, Hushi, Taj, yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So can you, okay, the two existing lots, this is Usman Afshar from Taj Engineering. The one with PID number, MBLU number 309832 is a landlocked piece of land which abuts and the current property with the access. This is all in North Chelmsford. It's old 41B subdivision, and the applicant owns both these properties. It has a common line right now for 257.17 feet common line between the two, and he would like to combine them into one lot. So hopefully, in case he wants to add an addition to the southwesterly corner of his existing house, he will meet the required setback requirements.
Seems simple enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's no new lot being created.
Another A&R, I'll give a motion for approval on it.
I'll
What's the
second.
41B?
The 40B he means.
I think he meant 40B.
40B, yeah, that's correct.
So what is,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send it around for questions? Anybody have, Nance, do you want to go first?
yeah, I'm trying to understand what this development is. It's zoned RA, which is like 60,000 square feet. And the whole development is like 1/10 of an acre lots.
It was a 40B project, Nan.
It was?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know that? Okay. It goes back to like 1995, and I didn't think 40B went back that far.
It does.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Yeah, they go back beyond that.
All right. In
Exactly.
that case, I don't, if it's 40B, I don't have a problem with it.
The other point on zoning being RA is because it's near the water wells, and we're supposed to have the most restrictive zoning there.
Well, we
Okay.
certainly don't.
No, it's RA, yes, we do.
But my point is, it was built out with 1/10 of an acre lot, so
You're right.
in application, we don't. It may have been classified that way, but it wasn't built that way.
Yeah, there are other
Gotcha.
100 lots like this in that subdivision.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any questions from the planning board members?
Yeah.
I give you the
Okay,
motion again.
Okay,
I'll
Glenn,
second it
motion.
again.
Mike, second, all in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Thank you.
Colleen, is that acceptable? Or do you need us to?
Nope,
Go
that's
around.
fine. I'll get somebody to come and sign. Probably Tim, you
Okay.
can.
Yeah, I'm there tomorrow.
Excellent.
All righty, thank you, sir. It's all set.
Thank you so much, Mr.
All right,
Chairman. Good night.
good night. Next up is 197 Billerica Road. And that's Mr., I believe it's Gibson, requests a 2-year extension of the permit issued September 2018 to September 2022. Is the applicant here?
I don't see anybody by name.
Anybody here from 197 Billerica Road that wants to speak?
Nhi Gibson,
Unmute.
Evan, do you know anybody that,
No, why don't we skip it and come back to it later?
Or, I mean, is there,
Okay.
Guys, I would think we could cover this. It seems like a no-brainer.
yeah,
We approved it for a restaurant, and you just can't build out a restaurant right now with COVID, so.
no, I think its rationale is
I
perfectly.
agree with that.
So the only question I
Okay.
have on it is, he waited 2 years from approval to prior to the pandemic. So what's taking them so long prior to that?
I think they were trying to find a restaurant to go into that. That's the one on
Billerica Road?
129, right? Yeah.
This is the second owner.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else from the planning board with a question, or are we just gonna skip this and come back to it tonight, or?
I just moved that we grant it.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mike and second by Glenn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's unanimous. Congratulations, 197
Yeah.
Billerica Road. Next up is 104 Turnpike Road. The Kinlock LLC request to modify the decision for the Planning Board 2017-06 in regard to this traffic study required to be done at 80% occupancy. Anybody here from 104 Turnpike?
Yes, Katie and Wright's here from Howard Stein Hudson.
Hi, Katie.
How you doing? So one of the conditions of approval for the Kinlock was that we do a look back traffic study when I believe we're 80% full. So we're getting ready to ask for full occupancy. We are obviously 80% full. And we could do the traffic study. It just seems like it wouldn't really give the town the information that they were looking for, because certainly because of COVID and traffic being down, also because there's a police detail at Billerica Road and Riverneck Road every day, kind of causing people to come down Turnpike and change their traffic patterns. So we spoke with Evan and we spoke with DPW and just said, you know, would it make more sense to take the $11,200 and have the town essentially utilize it to do this study when things are more back to normal than they are today? So what we would request is that the applicant essentially gift the town the $11,200 to satisfy that condition. And therefore the money could be, you know, certainly better spent to actually see a condition that the town or the planning board was looking for during permitting. That's it.
That's actually sounds good to me. I'll put it out to the board members. Any questions?
No questions. I think it's a good idea.
What was, I got one question, obviously, you always do, right? What was the intent of doing the study at 80%, Evan? What was the town looking to do? What was the result? What if the findings were, what recourse did they have if it wasn't what was planned?
So the intent was to reevaluate the intersections that were originally studied and reevaluate whether the signalized intersections and the timing and sequencing needed to be altered based upon the new traffic patterns and new trips generated.
Okay.
It was not contemplated that this look-back study would result in any roadway modifications or physical modifications to any intersections. It was primarily to, like I said, to look back to see whether the signal timings needed some adjustments.
So this is something we can do in a year from now when traffic's back up to normal?
Correct. Yeah,
you-
it will be held. It'll be the 11,200 will be held in escrow in a special account.
Okay. And you're okay with that?
Yeah, I think this makes sense.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They're not done hacking up the intersection up there yet.
Right.
you know.
But plus, things aren't really normal right now, too. There's a
Nothing.
lot of people working from home, so I think it would be better. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, it just seems like things won't be normal for quite a while.
Yep.
Do
Well,
we need a motion on this?
so moved.
Yep, I'll give you the motion to extend or like, to do whatever it was that Katie wanted to do.
We're modifying the decision.
Modify, yep.
Okay, is there a time frame on that, that we would modify it to? Is it,
Well,
does it go out?
yeah, this particular modification will be, the timing of this will be dependent upon the planning board and DPW when we think the timing's right.
Okay, so it would be up to the planning board and DPW to
Yep.
decide. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, so we have a motion from Glenn and a second from Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that is passed. Thank you,
Thank you very
Katie.
much.
Next up, we are at continued from 1028 is 12 Kidder Road. I can't really see anything there. Let me click back. Do you know what this is for? Colleen?
This is, Peter Nicosia is out there to speak to this.
Hi, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Colleen, could
Hello,
you
how are
close
you?
this up so we can see the red?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Chairman, Pete Nicosia on behalf of the applicant Loop Real Estate Corp. I also have Gene Sullivan, the project engineer, on the call with us as well.
Okay, thank you. We're ready to go, I guess, whenever you are.
No problem. So just to refresh the board's recollection, we were in front of you back in October looking for a minor modification for a temporary relocation of a 6-foot-high white PVC vinyl fence between my client's property and the Hyder's property. If you recall, this was originally permitted back in 2016. There's a private land rights case going on between the Hyder's and my client that deals with, where the boundary line is between the properties. So in an effort to move forward with our project and get a building permit, the planning board had referenced at a meeting September 11th of 2019 that the board was supportive of a minor modification to move the fence outside of the area of the disputed land area so that we could move forward with the project. And then eventually, once the land rights case gets settled, we're either going to keep the fence where it is, or we're going to move it to wherever the court decides the lot line is, or perhaps even back to where it was originally approved. So at the last meeting, we had proposed the move of the fence, and your town engineer, Christina Papadopoulos, had raised a question as to whether or not the temporary location of the fence would still be compliant with the town's requirement that a fence has to be at least 10 feet away from the edge of a retention basin. So what we did was we had our engineer sort of remark up the plan. We have located the outer perimeter of the retention basin in purple. We've put on the plan in red line with the little squares, the proposed location of the temporary fence. We've located the rock wall, which forms the basis for the outer perimeter boundary of the land rights case. We also show to the left of that, where my clients had contended the lot line is, as well as where the original fence was permitted back in 2016, just to give the board, an unambiguous understanding of, how it's laid out there. There was a field survey done in 2018. by Williams and Sparage's engineering that had located that rock wall. So that's where that location emanates from. But the principal purpose of this plan, other than eliminating any ambiguity, is to show compliance with that 10-foot setback from the edge of retention basin. I know that Christina has reviewed the plan. I think she may have even spoken with Gene Sullivan. Christina has also issued a letter to the board attesting to the fact that we are compliant with the 10-foot setback from where we contend the outermost portion of the boundary dispute is going to be located. And, you know, based upon that, we're playing upon, obviously, the board's prior unanimous manifestation in 2019 that you would be amenable to allowing us to make this temporary move so that we could go ahead, get our building permit, go on with our project, and the land rights case will go where it will go. So we're asking for that modification approval for the temporary location of the fence. But I would like the board to actually take it one step further and hopefully vest administrative authority with Evan Belansky for the future, such that when the land rights case is, you know, at either a settlement or an unappealed judgment, that we have the ability to relocate the fence to wherever that, you know, point is going to be, and obviously no further over than where it was originally approved. But obviously the, you know, the resolution of that case will dictate ultimately the permanent location of the fence. So we're hoping to not have to inconvenience the board further and have to reappear for yet another minor modification to move the fence back. We're hoping that the board vests that as an administrative matter with Evan Belansky at that time to make that call, so long as we provide evidence of where the boundary line ultimately got settled, and we show, you know, the fence is going to be in accordance with that, or in accordance with the original grant of its location in 16. So that's really it. It's not more elaborate than that. I have Gene Sullivan here to answer any technical questions you might have about the plan, but that's it.
Sorry, I didn't unmute. I'll send it around the board for questions. Glenn, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think we went through pretty much all of this at the last meeting. We kind of know what they're trying to do there, so it's, I don't know, just a technical thing. Unless somebody got a reason why it shouldn't happen, I think I'm fine with it.
All right, Hank?
Thanks, Tim. I really don't know what the dispute is, how many distance the fence should be set back. And again, like I stated last meeting, I would never approve a plan not knowing the definitive property lines. That being said, I don't see the big deal waiting till the court settlement. I don't want to say, yeah, I put it here, then the fence has to be moved again and again, and or it could be encroaching. You know, I just don't want to get involved in a lawsuit. So that's my opinion.
Gotcha. Mike?
Which one?
Either Mike, either one.
I'll take it. I don't see a problem here. The distances that we're dealing with are really quite short. And in any case, it would appear that that fence falls within the most that's likely to be granted. In the court case, you know, if they want to leave the fence there, fine. If they want to move it back, I just as soon have them come to us. But we're only talking a couple of feet, so I'm inclined to go forward with this. I'm wondering if anybody representing any of the other parties to this has a reason why we shouldn't go ahead and approve this.
Okay. The other Mike?
Has Christina, does she have a letter, or is she on to, what is her feelings of this? I know last time she had a letter that was read.
Colleen? Or Christina?
It's Colleen. I have Henry on the phone. He's not going to make it.
Okay.
I have the letter if you want me to read it to you.
Yeah, I just to give background, my name is Gene Sullivan. I'm the engineer. I designed the original stormwater system for the project. And I did call Christina on Tuesday just to review the plan that you have in front of you, so she understood what we were trying to show with the different fence lines and the area of disputed land. She reviewed it, she understood it, and supplied a memo, which Mr. Nkoja can read. But in simple terms, she said the basin has a 10-foot separation, even if the property line moved as far as the possible dispute would have it move. And also further commented that we would have the ability to reshape the pond if it was ever necessary, if it even moved further at the end. So, but I'll let you read her real language.
Colleen, do you have that letter? Or
I do.
Can you read it instead of Peter, or?
Sure. So 12 Kidder Road, minor modification. Dear members, this office has reviewed the site layout plan by Eugene T. Sullivan Incorporated, revised through November 30th, 2020, and discussed the 10-foot separation of the detention basin to the disputed lot line. Per our discussion and the plan, the detention basin is located at least 10 feet away from the closest possible disputed lot line. If the lot line is found to be closer than 10 feet away from the detention basin, the engineer understands that the detention basin will need to be relocated. Sincerely, Christina Papadopoulos.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the detention pond will not be relocated if it ever is, but I don't see an issue with this, in my opinion, but that request, once it's in, it's in. And that's how I feel, that it will never get resolved. So I'm good with letting it go.
So one point I wanted to make is, assuming the board members are done commenting, if you could pull that plan back up on the screen. So if you look to the left portion of the plan, so there's a solid, yeah, it's right there. So there's a solid dark line that is the inner boundary, which is where my clients claim that the boundary should be. And you can see the small white boxes following an additional line along that black line, which is the location of the originally approved fence based upon our belief of where the lot line should be adjudged to be. However, the hiders are contending that the lot line should be adjudged based upon where the stone wall is. So we've had a field survey actually locate that stone wall. And if you look at the top of that stone wall, we have assessed the setback of the 10 feet from edge of basin to that location. So it's not our version of where the lot line is. It's the outermost point of where the hiders contend that the lot line is. So to satisfy member Hank's comment, you know, we've adjudged this based upon a worst case scenario. So I don't think he should be concerned about lawsuits or anything like that. It's a private land rights case between the landowners, which will get resolved one way or another. You know, the board is focused on us complying with that 10-foot setback. And that was sort of the remaining issue from the last meeting, and that's what we wanted to demonstrate here.
Okay, Nancy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I did have a question. Is this 10-foot requirement 10 feet from the basin to the fence, or 10 feet from the basin to the lot line?
Lot line.
Okay, so the fact that the fence is right up against the basin on the other side is then not a problem?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't have any problems with this, but I do want to see it back if there's anything in the future to move the fence.
That's fine. I would assume the board would look at that as a minor modification as well.
Oh,
I would think.
Okay. Anybody else from the board that I missed? Have any questions?
Tim, I want to reiterate my prior comment. After hearing that and looking at, I thought the 10-foot setback went all the way to the original property line that the contractor thought it was his property. So if they're willing to move the retention back and adjust everything to be legal, then I wouldn't have an issue.
Okay, great. With that being said, do we have a motion or?
I'll give you a motion to approve the minor modification.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So unanimous.
All right. we
Thank you,
appreciate-
Attorney Nicosia.
Yes, thank you. Everybody have happy holidays.
You too.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 1 Billerica Road. With Stonegate Construction, it's 1 Billerica Road and 44 Central Square. Requesting site plan approval, section 195-104. And special permits under Article 22, Village Center Overlay District, VCOD, and any other relief that may be deemed necessary. The proposed project consists of reuse and redevelopment of the Fisk House and Oddfellows Hall into commercial space and a 100-seat restaurant and 8 apartments respectively. A 32-unit multifamily structure is proposed for the adjacent parking area. The site is located in the Village Center Overlay District and consists of approximately 3.5 acres as shown on Assessors Map 84, Block 334, Lots 10 and Lot 11. Is anyone here from Stonegate Construction?
Evening, Board Attorney Melissa Robbins on behalf of Stonegate Construction Fellows Project LLC. We're actually seeking a continuance without discussion tonight. As you know, at the last hearing, there was a lot of tasks to be completed prior to coming back to the board, and some of them were outside third-party consultants. So we're still trying to get all of that information together for the board. So we would ask for continuance to submit that information without discussion to your hearing of January 13th, 2021.
Okay, sounds great. Do we need a motion for that, Colleen, or to?
I give you a motion to continue.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Attorney Robbins. We'll
Thank you very much.
see you in January. Wow, we're flying through here. Next up is 314 Dunstable Road. The Chelmsford Planning Board will conduct a remote public hearing on Wednesday, November 11th, 2020 at 7:30 via Zoom meeting platform to consider the application of Dunstable Ledge LLC for a 6-lot definitive subdivision located at 314 Dunstable Road. The applicant requests definitive subdivision approval and applicable waivers under the subdivision control law and the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of the land in the town of Chelmsford. The project calls for the construction of a new dead-end roadway and the construction of 6 new houses on 6 new lots. Site is located in the RB Residential Zoning District. The properties are approximately 10.9 acres as shown on Assessors Map 2, Block 4, Lot 1 and 2. Both parcels are located on the western side of Dunstable, Makepeace Road, and abut the Westford town line. Is anyone here from 314 Dunstable Road?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Enright again with Howard Stein Hudson. And Attorney Melissa Robbins is also here tonight, and our client David Guthrie is on. We were here a couple of weeks ago with a 6-lot definitive subdivision. At that time, we had shown the access way or the roadway going to the cul-de-sac within the 6-lot subdivision and showed the proposed right-of-way to Westford. We certainly realized that we need to show the construction of that right-of-way also. So since then, we have updated the plans to show the constructed roadway leading from the cul-de-sac of the 6-lot subdivision into the town of Westford, and updated the plans as such. The new plans also show drainage associated with that section of roadway. Besides that, I think Evan had sought some information from town council just regarding the use of that access and the construction of that access. And I think you also have an updated letter from Christina Papadopoulos and the DPW within your files. With that, Evan, do you want to update the board?
Yeah, let me suggest that we read Christina's letter in. Paul Haverty is with us. He's only with us for the next 25 minutes, I believe. He has a hard stop at 8 p.m. I would suggest that if board members have questions for council, let's ask them while he's here, and we'll take it from there. So let's read in Christina's letter.
Okay, so this office has reviewed the site plans by Howard Stein Hudson Associates consisting of 24 sheets dated October 22nd, 2020, revised December 3rd, 2020. As a result of this review, the office has the following additional comments. This office believes that the proposed center island of the cul-de-sac will impede for vehicular movement while transitioning from the industrial use to the residential use, and recommends that the center island of the cul-de-sac be removed. The project is subject to the 2020 sewer moratorium. After internal discussion, this office supports the applicant's request for a waiver of the subdivision requirement of it installing a dry sewer line. Number 3, this is proposed as a town road. The construction and design details of the bridge must be submitted prior to construction. Drainage from the proposed industrial use at Westford will run into a detention basin in Chelmsford. This is not ideal, and a solution needs to be developed. The engineer is in the process of completing design and drafting revisions to the plans according to these recommendations. Christina Papadopoulos.
Is that it for letters?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else from 314 Dunstable Road want to speak, or do you want me to send it around to the board? You,
Yes,
board members, you want to? Okay, go ahead, Doug.
excuse me, Ms. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Douglas DeShane, representing Dunstable Ledge LLC. And with me this evening, Katie Enright from Howard Stein Hudson. I just want to introduce myself and let you know that we are available, and I certainly will turn it back over to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you want to start, Glenn?
Yeah, I got really nothing on this one right now. Just pass it on.
Okay, Hank?
Well, I'm good with it for now. And we'll see how it pans out.
Okay, Mike Raisbeck?
Well, I just, the waiver of of putting the sewer line in, I think it's pretty clear that in the long run, we're going to have sewer. I sure hope so. I certainly hope this current sewer moratorium thing is not permanent, and I doubt that it will be. So I am basically not in favor of a waiver on that particular piece, but as far as the rest of it goes, I'm fine.
Okay, the other Mike?
The other Mike. I'm all right. Quick question for you. So what is the zone, the right of way, is the right of way there now coming from Westford existing?
No, it is not.
So, and the LLC, do they own the subdivision in this property in Chelmsford where they want to put these 6 homes?
Yes.
Yes.
And the zone, what's the, I'm not familiar with the Westford zoning, but right across the line there that abuts the houses, what's the current zone for that? Did I hear it's industrial?
Commercial.
Commercial.
No, it's industrial C. It's industrial C, I believe. Colleen, could you bring the plan back up?
Sure.
It shows exactly where the line, well, the line is at the Westford line, but. Just go to the next plan. See that it splits between industrial zones right there. If you zoom into the middle to industrial B to industrial C. So there's light industrial and commercial type uses that are allowed in the Westford area.
So Katie, what is the intent to build residential homes in an industrial area?
No,
In
we
Westford?
cannot build, we're not allowed to build residential homes within the Westford parcel.
So what's that cul-de-sac that is being proposed right there in Westford?
Would be for commercial light industrial development.
So I just want to concern the board that it looks like, and this is maybe where Paul Haverty can jump in, and it looks like we're creating another ledge road where we're now giving access to trucks that are up here in North Chelmsford, which is going from from Westford into Chelmsford through a residential neighborhood. And it looks like they're using just my impression, they're using, which I thought it was a very nice subdivision of 6 lots until this right of way didn't come up until after we went around the table last time. You're gonna have trucks going through this neighborhood. And where do we stand with that, Paul, so that we don't create another ledge road issue?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the use in Westford is not something that is allowed in the residential zoning district in Chelmsford. So for as long as this roadway is a private roadway, it cannot be used to access a commercial use in another zoning district, or in this instance, in another town. Once it becomes a public way, presuming that it ever does, then it can be used for any purposes that a public way would be used, and it would be allowed to access the property in Westford for a commercial or industrial use.
Okay, I mean, I'm all for the neighborhood. It's just gonna create another issue that we already have in town, and we do not have any solution to. And
The difference with regard to the ledge road situation is that only a portion of ledge road is public, and then the portion of it that lies within Chelmsford is private. However, there are uses there that have already been using it, and then so that creates a number of questions as to to the extent those uses are allowed as pre-existing non-conforming uses, to the extent that if they are, whether or not the intensity of those uses has changed over the years or has lapsed for any point over the years. But those would not be questions that would be present with regard to this. They won't be able to use this roadway to access a commercial or industrial use until and if the roadway is accepted as a public way by the town of Chelmsford.
And just to clarify that for the board, as some members may recall, over the years, Steve Yonley has appeared before you, usually in the fall, seeking the planning board's endorsement and recommendation to town meeting for purposes of recommending that the town accept ways as town roads. So while this particular issue is not in front of the board right now, it will be at some point in the future, just based upon standard protocols.
So Tim, that was my only concern. And the abutter that spoke last week, she's across the street where the roadway's coming out. I'm not sure she realizes that there could be trucks down the road, coming out that roadway.
It's definitely a good concern. Nance, do you have any questions? Nancy?
Yeah. No questions.
No questions. Okay, so at this point now, are we looking for approval tonight?
Tim, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I had at the last meeting, I had indicated that, having some additional information as to what potential uses are allowed within the Westford industrial zone would be nice. Essentially trying to kind of define the scope and scale, the magnitude of what type of industry Westford allows, I think would be beneficial for the planning board and DPW as we review and discuss, approving the roadway. So Attorney Duchesne, are you able to tell us what types of industrial uses, or better yet, and ideally, maybe what your client envisions building on the Westford property?
Well, Mr. Evan, excuse me, I do not have my Westford bylaw with me at home, so I cannot read through that list for you. I'm happy to provide that in writing to you in the morning, but the IC zone and while I incorrectly stated that it was commercial is because the IC zone is the lowest intensity industrial uses that are allowed in Westford. So it tends to be, more in line with kinds of things people would consider commercial uses. It's not, it can't be a quarry, an asphalt plant, or any of those other heavy industrial uses that, I think people are scared of. And I do not have a specific plan from my client as to what they are going to do, but I am certainly more than happy to ask them to articulate to me so I can put it in writing to the board what their thoughts are. But we don't have a definitive plan. And again, I apologize. I haven't memorized the, the IC uses in Westford, but they are the lowest level industrial uses allowed.
Okay, so just to clarify, rock operations, asphalt plants, those are not permitted uses.
I do not believe they are at all.
Okay, and are you able to tell us whether there is an existing use on that property? Is there any grandfathering?
No, it's undeveloped. It is just undeveloped at this.
Okay.
So we are required to follow only the allowed uses within the Westford bylaw.
And if I understood you correctly, the lowest intensity likely allows contractor yards, maybe warehouse distribution, things of that nature?
I'm not sure warehousing is allowed at all in the area.
Okay. So
but yeah, small commercial offices, contractors, types of things, those are certainly allowed, types of allowed uses.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is that, I think DPW is already on this path related to the bridge. I think that's like a box culvert or some sort.
Well, Evan, I spoke with Steve at length about this, if I may. Just, we spoke at length after discussing just the overall construction standards for the roadway. This is Steve Yamley, the Assistant DPW Director, and I'm not sure Christina is on yet, and they alluded to it in their letter, but we spoke at length about the construction standards of the road and the type of traffic that could go over. Essentially, the roadway is built to the town of Chelmsford standards. It also has to carry the largest fire truck within the town of Chelmsford, and that's a standard that has to be maintained. So this culvert has to be designed to withstand the weight of the Chelmsford fire truck and also just regular everyday traffic. So it will be designed in such a manner. And if you look at the culvert plans that were contained within the definitive subdivision, we're talking about a full conspan 16-foot concrete culvert. It's not a little pipe, a plastic pipe under this roadway. It meets Massachusetts stream crossing standards, and it will also have to meet the standards for allowance of fire truck going over it. So there wasn't a concern regarding the loading of the culvert and or the construction standards of the road. I did speak with Steve at length about also the width and just the paved surface, and 26 feet wide is more than adequate for 6 single-family homes and 1 potential light industrial user. It's certainly adequate in that way. We're also not requesting any kind of waivers on sidewalk. We do provide 1 sidewalk on 1 side of the road. He did say he would like to not see a landscape island in the middle of the cul-de-sac, just for his own plowing of the DPW. Not having to deal with a landscape island in the center of the cul-de-sac is much easier for them when doing snow removal in the winter months, and also would just help with any kind of swing out of that roadway. So that was certainly discussed at length. The design itself is per the town of Chelmsford standards. So It's nothing really special about the design of the roadway itself.
I appreciate that. So I guess my only comment or question probably to Attorney Haverty is, if I understand correctly, definitive subdivisions, can they be conditioned? And if so, to what extent can they be conditioned? So for example, if at some point in the future, we do know what the Westford land is being developed as, is there a way to tie this approval to a specific Westford approval that may in fact necessitate increased roadway standards?
I think if the town currently has, if the board currently has planning board rules or regulations that would place this into a higher category of road standards, I think that you certainly can impose a condition that would require the roadway to be upgraded to that higher status if a connection to a proposed use would bring it into that status. So for instance, if you've got a roadway standard that is for commercial roadways, that is above and beyond the standard for a subdivision roadway, you could certainly include a condition that states if this roadway is going to be used for commercial purposes, it must comply with the standards for a commercial roadway. But the board does have to keep in mind when it's reviewing a subdivision application that it's limited to determining whether or not the proposed subdivision complies with the subdivision rules or regulations, the zoning bylaws. You have discretion with regards to the grant of waivers, but you do not have discretion to deny a subdivision that meets your rules and regulations. Which is different than if this were a special permit project, where you do have discretion to deny it, even if it meets certain standards.
But a subdivision design of a subdivision is under the presence that it's going to be residential automobiles going down the subdivision on a regular basis and not trucks. So then
it would be appropriate to include a condition that states that if this roadway is extended to include traffic that goes above and beyond what would be typical for a residential subdivision roadway, that the roadway needs to meet those standards. Because
yeah, they'll need it like a yellow line down the center, crosswalks, I mean, aren't roadways on the public roadways wider than the subdivision roadways, Evan?
No, I mean, I don't know what the commercial roadway standards are offhand. We haven't had a commercial subdivision road approved in at least 15 years. Katie, do you happen to know what they are offhand?
They are, yes. No, they absolutely are. It would increase the pavement to 34 feet, which in with DPW is beyond ridiculous for one commercial user. It's essentially, we would seek, if the town were to require us or ask for us to do a 34-foot wide pavement for one user, it just is environmentally not good practice. It's something that's well outdated within the town of Chelmsford. The actual pavement sections or the cross sections of pavement is no different for a residential road versus a commercial road under the subdivision rules and regulations. It's literally just the width. And whether or not there's one sidewalk or two sidewalks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions from the board?
Tim, I have a question.
Sure.
The plan shows two turnaround circles, one at the end of the subdivision and one at the end of the proposed commercial industrial section, and they're not very far apart. Yeah, there. Is there any real advantage to having the circle at the end of the subdivision if the rest of that road is built out?
No, Nancy, you're right. It really doesn't. And I would suggest that after we go out and do our soil testing for our septic systems, that we may come back later at a later date with a modification to not only show the septic systems, but also show that excess pavement at that cul-de-sac being removed. So it would be less impactful.
Yeah, I would be interested in entertaining the removal of the circle in the cul-de-sac with a requirement that the rest of the road be built out before occupancy, such that there is a turning circle available.
Right, we could also do something temporary and do a temporary T-turnaround at the end there too, as kind of a middle ground, if that made sense.
If you're expecting to come back anyway, maybe you can address it then.
So Katie, are you suggesting that you're gonna seek a continuance on this?
No, I
Okay.
mean, I'd like to seek approval from my client for this
Okay.
subdivision.
So
and the proposed
may I
definitive
suggest that in lieu of any reason for the board to ask for a continuance based upon additional information, let's keep the hearing open. I would like to draft a decision, work with counsel and the applicant to prepare a draft decision for your review and consideration at the next meeting. I think it's appropriate maybe for the board to just go around one more time to give an indication on the overall path moving forward for the decision. But I think there's some legalese that needs to be prepared so that the board can review and actually see what they're voting on.
I think that sounds great, Evan. So is that acceptable to the applicant?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so we will then put this off to the next meeting. Would be a continuance, Evan?
Yes.
So
I'll give you a motion to continue if you want, Tim.
Second.
Okay, and a second by Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What date? Gotta be
January
continued to a date
13th, I believe.
January?
So, yeah, January 13th, we'll have a draft decision for the board's consideration.
Okay, all in favor, we said aye, so unanimous.
All right, thank you, Ron.
Ronnie, is that
Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much
night.
for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
All righty. Next up, new business, potential zoning articles for a Springtown meeting.
Yeah, thank you. So I had sent out an email to the board. Pauline, if you're able to bring that up, I think you were copied on it a couple days ago. If the board is interested in pursuing any zoning articles for Springtown meeting, now would be the time. I've suggested 2 topics that I think are worthy and warranted. First one is the parking revisions to Center Village and the Center Village Overlay District. This is something that I believe Tim Shanahan had brought forward to the board. The board discussed it. Seems fairly straightforward. When we discussed it last time with the Center Village Committee, we had talked about doing some studies and some further analysis. I've given that some additional thought, and I think the revision that the planning board is considering is fairly straightforward. Doesn't really warrant making it more complicated than it needs to be. So if that's one that the board is interested in pursuing, I think that's more than manageable. It's not a major revision. The second area of consideration would be related to e-commerce and some of the new land uses that have been identified within the master plan update. My email provided you the excerpts from the the working draft document of the master plan within the land use, zoning, and economic development sections. Reason I bring this to your attention is that I think it's time sensitive and time critical, not just during COVID and post-COVID, but as we all know, the retail landscape is changing drastically. So many of these concepts related to e-commerce, such as fulfillment centers, ghost kitchens, dark stores, are items that are fairly prevalent nationwide and are beginning to take hold in Greater Boston, Greater Massachusetts. So from my perspective, I'm always looking for means to keep our zoning ahead of the curve rather than behind the curve. And I think this is fairly timely, particularly based upon the accelerations related to change due to COVID.
Okay, Evan, thanks for your work on that and bringing it forward. Does anybody have any questions, or you want to go around the board?
I have comments.
Comments? You want to stop, Mike Raisbeck?
Sure. Yeah, I want to completely support Evan on this. This is a topic that we've been discussing in the Master Plan Committee, and I think it's very timely. The changes to allow for some of these newer forms of commerce. Also, in favor of making some tweaks to the center village. And then there's one other topic that we've discussed a little bit at Master Plan, and we've discussed here on the Planning Board, which would be some zoning change that would ease up some, but potentially not all of the restrictions on marijuana. And I think it makes sense for us. Right now, we don't allow research to go on. We're pretty much very, very limited. It seems to me that when the issue came before town meeting, the biggest concern that people had was retail sales. And I think it might be a very reasonable thing for us to relax restrictions on the commercial, the testing and the research and such as that, but perhaps to leave, at least for the time being, the retail sales restriction in place. And I'd like to propose that we ask Evan to draft up something along those lines, assuming the board is comfortable with it.
Mike, I'm glad you brought that up, and I actually agree. I don't even think there's an issue with the sales. I mean, I think it's something we should look into. If you look at the surrounding towns, I mean, you don't see any issues with it. And everything I read, it is definitely bringing in a ton of money. So,
I completely agree with you. I personally would favor retail sales as well, but I want to get something out of this. I don't want to present something to town meeting that it's going to flop. But if you think that that's a go, I certainly support it.
I would be in favor of bringing it up, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but if we want to bring it around.
I agree with both of you. I'm in favor of it.
Tim, I wouldn't take retail. I would not take retail before town meeting at this point. I would much rather address the industrial and agricultural applications that are locked up out of sight and out of access. I believe that if you address retail, you're going to have a fairly significant battle with the police chief and the Board of Health, and I don't have an appetite for that right now. I would much rather get the other pieces in place for the economic advantages of getting some business in town, some industrial business in town.
Does it have to be, like, can it be piecemeal? I mean, can you have different options?
Yeah, you could have two different motions. One to grant relief for everything but retail, and a second one on retail. And I would not be the least bit surprised that if you did that, you would pass the one granting agricultural and commercial relief and maybe not pass the one on retail, but it's certainly worth a try.
Yeah.
It's bringing in a ton of money for the town. I mean, if you know, you see Tingsboro, they have a brand new building. You wouldn't even know what it is. And, you know, I think that where the towns would be losing out. So I would like to see us research it and see what we can do so that we're not left behind.
All right, could we make it 2 articles?
I'm fine with that. Evan, what is your opinion on it?
My gut agrees with Nan. You know, I think anything that's non-retail related is very viable at town meeting. To pursue the recreational retail sales, I think would require the planning board to really engage with Board of Health, Board of Selectmen, and the police chief and police department. Certainly we can begin that engagement as part of the spring town meeting process. And maybe between now and during that process, the board pulls it, or maybe you think there's enough support to actually bring it to town meeting. As the board knows, you can submit an article and then withdraw it, basically, on the floor if you wanted to.
I was thinking like with Tingsboro being a neighbor, and I mean the revenue that it must be bringing into the town. I mean, is that all the information we can find out for them too, with the Tingsboro police to see, if they're having issues?
We can gather all that information. My initial concern is that the amount of research in order to engage with the stakeholders on the retail recreational side, there may not be enough time. If you look at my last paragraph there on the timeline moving forward, it's fairly aggressive. The changes to Center Village parking and e-commerce are pretty straightforward. There isn't a lot of research to be done, and there certainly isn't anyone other than the planning board that we need to engage with. So the recreational marijuana, we all know up front, it's going to require a lot of research, right? Getting the revenue estimates from Tingsboro, engaging with the police chief. I think it's definitely worthwhile to begin that engagement. And if it goes well, then we're likely in the queue for Springtown meeting. But I'm not entirely confident that we have enough time to pull that all together.
So
I think if you
Mike.
take both pieces, you'll lose both pieces.
My suggestion would be, let's advance the industrial component. As the board knows, the zoning currently allows medical dispensaries. We unfortunately, as Mike Raisbeck has indicated, we didn't allow the medical dispensaries to do any of the accessory components. They can't grow their own, they can't warehouse their own, they can't do R&D. So I think that's the component that Mike and Nan are suggesting we pursue. And my guess is that that would likely be fairly viable at town meeting. But I agree, I think we should, if the board is interested in doing research and engaging with Board of Health, Select Board, and the Police Department, I think now is the time. Because if it doesn't go to Springtown meeting, at least it'd be, we know it would be targeted for Fall Town meeting.
Yeah.
My stepson's doing a report for college on the benefits of marijuana, so maybe I can get that report from him too. We can use it. I just see all the revenue. I mean, that it's bringing into the town, and that we're missing out on. And the benefits, like you said, it's not even about the effects. I mean, it's the medical, people using it for sleep, things like that, so.
It's a
Okay.
good point. I think what the benefit that Chelmsford has is that, as Tim, as you're saying, this is now not a new concept. There are actual facilities that people in Chelmsford and elected and appointed officials in Chelmsford can go look at and point to that are in our neighboring communities. So I think a lot has changed since the last time the town had a discussion related to this topic. And maybe people's perspectives and opinions may have changed as well. There's certainly more information available as to what the real impacts are in our neighboring communities. So what I'm hearing is the board seems to be interested in pursuing the center village and the e-commerce. If that's the case, as my memo indicated, I would prepare a more polished draft for your next meeting on January 13th. And at that point, we would be able to proceed with opening a public hearing on January 27th. That would give the board at least 2 public hearings to digest and allow the community to have an opportunity to hear and digest and engage with the board if necessary. The key deadlines here is February 17th is the deadline for final language for council to review, and the Board of Selectmen signed the warrant on February 22nd. So it's a tight time frame, but I think the 2 primary articles and potentially the third on medical marijuana, I think are doable.
Evan, I'd like to suggest that we also do another article to add some definitions of the zoning districts. I don't know of anywhere in the bylaws that we characterize each of these districts, and it leads to a lot of confusion to be able to not be able to do that.
We do have, the current zoning bylaw does have a narrative description of each of the zoning districts. It's one of the first sections of the bylaw. However, you are correct. It is fairly outdated and likely does not reflect the communities or even the board's visions for the districts. But now that you bring that up, that may be a good recommendation to put back in the master plan update.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing an update to that then and
Absolutely.
clarify it. Because it really, you know, those characterizations, those definitions really establish the expectations for each of the zones.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, this was good. I appreciate the board's time, and certainly look forward to advancing these zoning articles.
All right.
Evan, thank you for your work on this and bringing it forward.
Nice job.
All right, do we have meeting minutes, or is that it for new business?
That's all I had, unless other board members had.
Can I just ask one question, Evan? What is on the master plan, or maybe Mike or Nancy can, when are they looking to be completed on that? Are they still on target? Is it sometime this year or next year, obviously 21?
That would be this year.
This calendar year, you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think we'll make
I don't think so.
You don't?
Not 2020.
Well, that's like,
I don't know. I have fond hopes.
it will
Mike,
it will
it's not
slide into
happening.
the early part of 21,
Okay.
but it'd likely be done for Springtown meeting.
I think
Would be
it's
my
still
hope.
churning, but
No, definitely not.
You're not gonna make it.
No, hey, it's just, what else is there to do on Thursday nights?
Well, at least you're optimistic. That's good. All right, thank you. That's all I had, Tim.
All right, thank you. Next up, I guess, is meeting minutes. Did everyone have a chance to look at those? Anybody have any issues with them?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I get a motion?
Let me pull it up and see what the issue I had was. There was at least one topic that had half of a description on it.
One question I
Not
have.
coming up for me, but
Tim,
Yeah.
while we're waiting for Nancy, one question I had, the meeting minutes were very detailed, and I appreciate Colleen doing those so quickly, because that had a lot of items in there. That was a very detailed meeting. Should we put in writing in the meeting minutes when one of the members recused themselves and make it clear that they are recused? Because reading that, it didn't, I chaired that meeting because Henry, on the one for Billerica Road, because Henry recused himself. We should make note that which member has recused themselves right at the beginning of that discussion.
Yeah, that belongs in there.
We should maybe going forward, we should just make clear that right up front, the first part of that piece of the meeting minutes is that so-and-so has recused themselves from this discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
I think these minutes need to be edited before they're approved anyhow. The topic, Planning Board 93-101 on 1 UPS Road, has like, I don't know, it drops off in the middle of the sentence. So I have no clue what this is. It says no action, but it doesn't say why no action. So it needs more of an explanation on it.
Okay, so we'll
take another look at that one. Table that one.
Okay.
All right.
Check it for spelling too, because there were definitely issues in there.
Yeah.
Things
All right.
that are words, but were not the appropriate words for the location.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nancy. Mike, you have a motion?
Yes, I do indeed. I'd like to move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a great holiday.
Yes, everyone have a good holiday season.
You guys too.
Bye, guys.
Good night, guys. Have a good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.